You're listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.
This episode,
we pop back to Black Rock Laboratory.
We are playing it very cool in the Randomiser.
and Professor Brian Cox and Robin Ince are back for part 2 of their interview.
That's all coming up in pod 112
of the Gerry Anderson podcast.
Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
The Gerry Anderson podcast, which is what you're listening to right now. Hello, we're here.
Yes, we are. Well, I'm here. Are you there?
Let me just check. Yes, I actually am here. I'm Jamie Anderson.
Yes, good. I'm Richard James.
Are you sure?
Here we are for the Gerry Anderson podcast. Pretty sure. Yes, at least that's what it says in the label on the back of my t-shirt. We're here for the next, hour and a quarter, hour and a half with all the usual Gerry Anderson goodness. Would you like me to present that to you now, Jamie?
I would love it if you would do a Thunderbirds launch-style countdown of what's coming up.
5. Chris Dale will be with us a little later on with his amazing randomiser, whereby he sits down in front of a random Gerry Anderson episode and gives us his thoughts and comments. 4. We have the Gerry Anderson news from around the universe, because there is always new stuff happening in the Gerry Anderson world. 3. We've got FAB Facts coming up a little later on, whereby Jamie will pick an extraordinary fact from the Gerry Anderson universe and we'll discuss it. 2. We'll be hearing from our Podsterons, because they've been emailing us at podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk, and they've been tweeting us and they've been Facebooking us. 1. And we'll also have the second part of Jamie's interview with Brian Cox and Robin Ince. The Gerry Anderson podcast is go.
I cannot believe that you ad-libbed that on the fly with no... Because I should say, Podsterons, massive credit there to Richard James, because that was not in the script and I just thrust it upon him.
Jamie.
It was great. Great, really lovely. You'll have to do that every week now, but in a different style of Anderson show.
What have I done? Okay,
so
right.
It's all those things and maybe more.
Yes, there must be something I missed out.
Coming up in this Gerry Anderson podcast 112. Now, I'm going to be dropping in something rather special into the Gerry Anderson news later, Richard, something that you've been involved with. But let's leave that for now.
Yes. All right, let's leave it for now.
We'll leave that bit of fab news for later and instead turn to a fab fact.
Oh, joy.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
Tell us about Fab Facts, Jamie.
Well, Richard, as we established last week, here's the formula. I've got a book of Fab Facts. You're going to shout fab as I flick through it, and then I'll stop and I'll read out a Fab Fact, which will be fab.
That's it. You've got it. There.
You've got the formula.
In a nutshell.
And Podsterons, I did perform that explainer of Fab Facts live for you rather than reusing it from last week. So
what a talent.
Nobody can say that I don't earn my podcast fee of a lollipop and a can of Coke.
Hey, is that what you get?
Yeah, did you not get the lollipop upgrade?
No, I just get the can of Coke.
Oh. That's awkward. Right, you should speak to your agent. Anyway, I've got my book of Fab Facts, Richard. Are you sure, even though you don't get the lolly, you can still shout fab for me?
Go on,
or just say it.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Fab. Hey.
Oh,
yeah.
You see, I flicked quicker, but you fabbed quicker. So we have avoided the Joe 90 area.
Okay, fine.
Thankfully.
Yep.
We've landed in the sort of Thunderbirds area.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
For a short and sweet one.
Right.
Now, I've noticed we've had quite a few of these recently about reused props and bits of tat and all that sort of stuff.
We do like them, though.
We do like them, but would you believe, here is another one. The opening titles of Thunderbirds, Richard.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty iconic.
Well, as enacted by me just merely moments ago.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're totally right. Now, I mean, if you had to pick some favourite moments from the Thunderbirds opening title sequence, what might they be? Well, no, they didn't have to be favourites. Iconic moments from the title sequence.
But for me, personally...
Yeah.
But do you know what? It's that little tiny jump cut that seems to happen as Thunderbird 1 is launched. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay,
I
interesting.
like that, and I always look out for it.
Well, you always keep an eye out for that, and for the lemon squeeze, obviously, in the launch bay. Now,
Yes.
there are lots of lovely elements there. This episode sequence, the kind of Thunderbirds logo rushing out, and the lightning.
Yeah.
The characters being introduced, and the
Yeah,
blur
the voice,
shots.
of course.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many amazing bits, but lots of people would say the thing that really sets the tone for Thunderbirds and the style and the destruction is at the very end of the opening titles, where we built up to the total destruction and decimation of some unidentified industrial complex.
Yes.
Now, that
yes,
was clearly
right.
just done purely for the opening titles, for no other reason.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been done probably, fairly early on in production, just as they started to put things together. So it's not something from a story. So what do you do if you want to blow something up? You don't want to make something completely new, so why not go back to the prop store, back to the buildings and model store, and have a look and see what you can find? And that's exactly what they did.
Ah, what did they find?
So if you go to that sequence and hit pause, okay, do that now. Yeah, okay, we'll just wait while you scrub through. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, there you are. So
Yep,
so
pause,
pause
yep.
now at the industrial
Yep.
complex, and now
There it is.
look over on the right-hand side.
Right hands. Oh, the other right hand side.
The other one. Yeah.
It-
You see that small sort of warehousey type
small warehouse.
building?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you recognise that at all, Richard?
I've seen it before. Where's that from then?
Yeah. Well, you may have seen that in Supercar, because that is the home of Supercar, the Black Rock Laboratory.
Is that right?
Yeah, there's just enough time, if you pause in the right spot, which you have, to see it before it goes up in flames, the poor thing.
Yeah.
So
Gosh.
it's another opportunity for a lovely old asset from an old show to get totally destroyed for a new one. And it's actually kind of nice. There's something sort of about the leaving behind of the old to make way for the new, in this case by blowing it up, which kind of fits with Dad's view of the whole kind of sequence of events for making shows. Once something was done, in his mind, okay, that's over, draw a line under it, on to the next thing.
Yeah, there's a whole sort of lack of sentimentality about it, isn't there?
Exactly.
It's like, okay, well, we'll use that and we'll blow it up.
The least nostalgic
move
man
on.
you've ever met, which is as many people have described him. So there you go. Yes, make way for Thunderbirds, goodbye Supercar and Black Rock Laboratory. Totally destroyed.
Nice. Yeah, I like it.
There you go. Anything that you've destroyed, Richard, to make way for something new?
Only my previous marriage. I'm joking, of course. I'm joking.
course, of
That's a joke.
course.
Actually, I did see Mark Simpson-Wedge, who we know well, is a listener to the podcast and a big Gerry Anderson fan. I think, did he post it on Twitter or did he post it in the Facebook group? I can't remember. But he built and destroyed his very own skyscraper in the last week or two and posted the results as pictures. So either look in our Facebook group or on Twitter, and be careful if you try something similar at home on your own. But the results were quite spectacular.
Yes, I think that was on the Facebook group, so go and have a look at that if you haven't seen it, Podsterons. Anyway, that very neatly brings us to the end, I think, of this week's... Wow, what a dramatic ending to this week's FAB Facts.
Now, I don't know about you, Jamie, but I'm doing the traditional thing that all actors seem to do when they come through an explosion. I'm just brushing the dust off my lapels.
And that's the difference between you and I. I have no training, so I would never do that sort of thing.
I'm wondering, have I ever been involved in an explosion? There must have been something in Space Precinct that got a bit... but I suppose they might have put the stuntman in instead. Anyway, I'm just musing to myself there. We have had some emails in because people have been very good at emailing us at podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. Robert Smith, for example, says, hello, and a very good afternoon to you, Jamie. The original television soundtrack of Thunderbirds has arrived, and me and my younger brother are really excited to be receiving the blue vinyl version. We can't wait to play and listen to the Thunderbirds album. Is there any chance of the original soundtrack albums of Thunderbirds 6 and Thunderbirds Are Go on vinyl? Thank you once again. Have a fab day. Kind regards, Robert. Any news?
We've already announced. I think there's all the other shows. Vinyls are being released. All the other Barry Gray ones, but it's limited to the Barry Gray soundtracks as far as we know. So you can probably look forward to, as we discussed a couple of weeks ago, in fact, probably a Grey Space 1999 one.
Yes, that's
a
right,
red Captain Scarlet one.
Lovely.
An orange Joe 90, perhaps. I mean, I'm guessing at the colours now, but
nice.
Yes, lots more silver screen releases to come over the coming months and possibly even years.
Lovely. Luke Durnell got in touch to say, hello, Gerry Anderson HQ. This morning, my Thunderbirds CD came through the post. My favourite tracks are Penny in Paris and Monorail Drama. This has been lovingly produced, as you can hear the specific instruments. Now it's been remastered. I love that the tracks are divided into the episodes, and inside the booklet you get a list of the talented musicians as well as quotes from the series. In Pod 101, Jamie mentioned that this could open the door for more Barry Gray to be released on CD and vinyl. I do hope that a Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons could be the next one. I'm sure your technical team, headed by Brains, of course, will be able to produce results so that we can all hear the operations of Spectrum and many more. Recently, he says, I've been watching new Captain Scarlet and I've been really enjoying it. My favourite episode so far is Series 1, Episode 6, Mercury Falling. All the best from Luke Durnell. Nice.
Yes, that is a regular favourite of people. So.
Is it now? Oh, I must have a look at that one. Yeah.
Yes, you must.
Yes, I must. Hannah got in touch. Dear Jamie and Richard, how are you? I have two things I'd like to share with you. First, that there was a very interesting interview with MG Harris in one of your latest podcasts. It was great to hear that there was someone privileged to finish Gerry's work. That's interesting. Quite a unique position for MG Harris, I would think, with Gemini Force One, to actually finish something that Gerry had started.
Yeah.
I'm not sure anyone else had ever done that.
No. I mean, the closest would be, I guess, what we're doing with the legacy stuff to continue it or finish it off. But yeah, she's one of the first to do that.
Yeah, I'm still puzzled, says Hannah, about something, and I hope you can answer my question. When creating a new story, whether it's a book or TV series, it must be hard to make sure that it's its own story without everyone thinking it's just the same as another series. I think the same thing when I see or hear all these TV shows set in space. We have loads of them. How do they manage to be different from each other? She thinks that Space 1999 and Into Infinity sound very similar. The question I want to ask is, when someone makes a new series with a similar theme to another series, how do they keep it fresh? And secondly, I finished a new drawing on my Instagram page. It's a Thunderbird 2 flying, and I hope you like it, and I'll let you know when I've done another one. Well, thank you very much, Hannah. That is interesting, isn't it? I mean, it's a perennial problem, isn't it, of making something original, because every story has been told, hasn't it, several times over.
Exactly. It's just moved in location or changed in combination of characters and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's very difficult to do something genuinely new.
And an added difficulty, I suppose, if you're working within the Gerry Anderson universe, is to try and keep that same feel and style and way of storytelling without treading too much on the toes of stuff that's gone before. Have you found that difficult?
Well, it's a fine balance between keeping the right feel, the legacy feel, and not just doing something that's entirely derivative.
Yes, that's right.
It just is a challenge and just something you've got to keep in mind. You don't want to put all the old stuff on a pedestal and just try to recreate it, because it's already there and it's already great.
Absolutely.
But just have some kind of respect and understanding of where it's come from and why it's been popular, I guess.
Yeah. And finally, Big Al sent us an email from his old man's comfy chair saying, greetings, podcast peoples. I had all these good intentions to record a hopefully amusing little compilation of Anderson-themed impressions for the next podcast. Ah, yes, as we had last week. But some sort of technical glitch has meant everything just sounds like Youngstar in a blender. Actually, Youngstar sounds like Youngstar in a blender, doesn't he, to be honest? Perhaps you should all be thankful, says Big Al, for small mercies. I shall console myself with a spin of Silver Screen's new Barry Gray Thunderbirds soundtrack CD and see if normal service can be resumed at a later date. You have been warned. P.S. Inspired by the Randomiser's pick of Space Precinct Flash a couple of weeks ago, I also watched two of my personal favourite Space Precinct episodes, The Snake and Time to Kill. Hard to believe these are now 25 blooming years old. No wonder I'm having glitches. Must be me age. SPA from Big Al. I know, 25 years. Tell me about it, Al. Oh, crikey.
Are you saying that because you were in it, Richard? Is that right?
Yes. Well, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but yes, I was in Space Precinct.
Amazing. Well,
and I was 25 years old at the time, so I'm now into that weird period of there being more time since Space Precinct to now than there was between my birth and Space Precinct.
Wow. I mean, as our interviewees later on may attest to, that, the passing of time and relativity and, quantum stuff or something. Anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll leave that to the experts. Thank you, you lovely Podsterons, for your emails. Please keep them coming in. podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk.
Yes, that's it. Wasn't quite sure you were going to get there, but
I made it. I took a big deep breath. I'm going to take a glug of coffee and then we'll do some Gerry Anderson news, shall we?
Oh, how exciting.
Here it is. This is me glugging the coffee anyway. Now time for the news. Go on, Richard, what is it?
It's news. And this week, some particularly fab news.
Is
what do
it?
you say?
Well,
I don't know. Is it?
I don't
you
know.
might say that.
Why would you say that?
Well, I don't know. I just thought you might.
Is that because you were involved in something special?
Yeah, I was involved with something special, yes, but, can't say too much about it.
No. I mean, all I can say, Richard, is nothing is true.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you know what that's about.
Yes. Oh, yes. Let's leave that there and move on, shall we?
Yeah, I mean, I just say, Podsterons, that what you've heard there, that complete nonsense that you've just heard there is, in its own way, completely exclusive news about something.
Yeah, it's not very specific, but it's exclusive.
Yeah, exactly. That's all we can offer here on Gerry Anderson Podcast. There you go. Right, now some other news. Chris Thompson has been busy at work, as usual.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Creating a rather lovely Captain Scarlet t-shirt design, which is now available, featuring, I think, Destiny and Scarlet and blue and possibly green and I think Colonel White. A rather lovely kind of main cast image, which I think you're all going to love. Mm-hmm. The UFO 50th anniversary poster is out now. Go and grab it. It's lovely and retro. Ooh. Both those things available from shop.gerryanderson.co.uk. And Richard,
yes,
I think we may have just mentioned it, but in case anybody is not certain, I think I'm right in saying that you were in Space Precinct.
Yeah, I was. Yes, I don't like to talk about it too much.
No, but certainly not actually. Twice in a couple of minutes.
No, that would never happen.
But you've also brought to life the unmade pilot story, Demeter City. Now, you've done that as an audiobook, which has been available for a few weeks now. But I'm very pleased to be able to tell you and our lovely listeners, the lovely Podsterons, that Space Precinct Demeter City will soon be coming to print and ebook outlets near you.
Great.
You'll be able to get a digital copy or a print copy within the next 3 or 4 weeks from now. So, yeah, when there's news on that, I shall let you know, listeners. But it would be really nice to have an actual copy of your book. Yes, another book from prolific author Richard James.
Oh, lovely. That could sit up there with The Deity Father, can't it? And the other Space Precinct novel from back in the day. I think there were only 2, weren't there?
This really good Space Precinct novel could sit up there with the 2 rubbish ones. Yes.
I'm glad you said that.
Well, obviously, I'm partly joking.
Yeah.
It's not that good. I am obviously joking there, though. It's lovely. You've done a fantastic job of that opening story. What?
Yeah. Next item.
Well, there aren't any more items. That's it, I think.
Oh, so we're ending on you dissing my writing and reading of Demeter City.
No, I told you did a fantastic job. Actually, I'll tell you what there is. There's new 3 episodes of new Captain Scarlet and Terrorhawks over on our YouTube channel, so you can go and watch those. YouTube.com/Gerry Anderson TV. Should be at least 1 more free episode of each, which will take the new Scarlet count to 3 and the Terrorhawks count to 3, I think. Nice. So there you go. Don't say we don't give you something for nothing, because, we do.
That's true, yeah.
Right, okay, there you go. Now, I think, unless there's anything else you want to add, Richard James?
There's nothing I'd like to add.
Then this is the end of this week's Gerry Anderson News.
That was the news. That was the news.
That was a bit creepy.
That was quite intimate, wasn't it? It was like I was there in the room with you. It's a bit scary, isn't it?
We could do the whole podcast just up close.
No, let's not do that. No. We'll send people to sleep. No. Now, over on Twitter, people have been hashtagging us Gerry Anderson Podcast. They've been tagging him, I'm Jamie Anderson, me, Richard N. James, and him over there, just by the window with his fingers on the blinds, Chris Dalek. For example, Captain Kangaroo has tweeted, "Can I just take a moment to thank everyone at the Gerry Anderson Podcast for the amazingly valuable resources on YouTube and elsewhere that really help new fans like myself catch up with the veteran fans." Now, this is Eric, who we heard from a couple of weeks ago, who has just discovered the whole Gerry Anderson universe in the last 3 months and has realised he's got 60 years to catch up with. So yeah, lots of free stuff, as Jamie's just mentioned, over on the YouTube channel, so a great place to start your catching up with everyone else. Lost in Transition tweeted, "If you haven't downloaded the Gerry Anderson Podcast 110, go on, do it now. It's great fun, a terrific way to make your day much more entertaining." And now I also visited YouTube to see what people have been commenting about the recent podcasts. For example, no, it's all good.
Oh,
yeah, Keith Gooch posted on Pod 110. "Great episode as usual. Great banter with Richard and Jamie. Interesting interview with MG Harris. Did she drop a hint about a Gemini Force One audio play?" Well,
yes, she did. She did. There have been discussions of an audio play which could potentially follow the audio books at some point, but it's not. It's not an immediate thing. So yeah, I mean, 2021, 2022 kind of time we're looking at. So
that would be a sort of a full cast play as opposed to an audiobook reading. Nice,
exactly.
Great. Ian Dealey left a comment at the bottom of Pod 109, another great podcast. I might think about getting the Big Finish version of Gemini Force One. Plus, it's good to have Captain Scarlet back on the Randomiser. And now, I looked back 2 years ago, Jamie. Do you remember when you posted our introductory podcast?
Oh gosh, did
Pod
we?
1.
Oh no.
Well, David Dietrich commented 2 years ago, I've been a fan since my first episode of Supercar in 1960, but sadly enough, I've rarely lived anywhere close to people with similar interests until we had children. And I raised them to appreciate Sir Gerry's work. Now they're gone, and I'm back in my studio on my own, but thankfully I have Jamie and Richard to keep me company and talk about all the nerd boy stuff that I love. Good on you. So he posted that 2 years ago. David Dietrich, I want to know, are you still with us?
What, you mean, are you still listening?
Well, yeah, I don't mean are you still with us?
Well, then don't say that. Yes, David, if you are still listening, if you are still a Podsteron, let us know. We'd love to know if you've stuck with us for 2 years. And if we don't hear from you, then it's a bit awkward.
Sorry.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Richard, anyway. I can't believe you went back 2 years. Goodness me.
I know. Long time ago.
Any more, or should we pop over to the thing that people are actually interested in for this podcast?
Yeah, we'll leave it there for now. But after our upcoming interview with Sir Brian and Sir Robin of Ince, we'll head on over to our Facebook page, shall we, and see what's been going on over there.
I cannot wait, but I'll have to, because, as you said, it's part 2 of 3 of our interview with Professor Brian Cox and Robin Ince, those of the Infinite Monkey Cage. So it's more Space 1999, more importance of sci-fi and all that sort of stuff. Yes, I will stop talking and let you listen to them. Now.
Hooray!
Can I just wind you both back, though, to your earliest Anderson memories? It's just something that I always like to find to kind of set the tone for your expectations of Anderson Entertainment to go forward. Some people, their first thing is Space 1999, but what for you, roughly, what was it?
It might have been Space 1999, because I remember watching it at the time. It was 1975, wasn't it? Was it 75? It was first broadcast. So I was 7 years old. I'm tempted to say Thunderbirds, but I suspect Thunderbirds I must have seen as a repeat, obviously, because that was first broadcast.
Yeah.
When was it?
That was 65 first. But I mean, it was out every couple of years on repeat for over a decade.
It was either Space 1999 or Thunderbirds. And again, coming back to, I said Space 1999, but coming back to Thunderbirds, it, as everyone who listens to this will know, it does stand up. It's a very different kind of standing up, of course, isn't it? Because it looks retro, but it stands up. And I think for me, the thing I remember also is owning the toys, which many people of my generation will do. I had a Thunderbird 2. I cannot remember. I've still got it. Right, the engines have fallen off. So it's not got the 2. I think everyone's engines fell off. But I've got the green one and the blue one. So I think the blue one was newer, wasn't it? I think the green one was the first one. Same with the Eagle.
Yeah,
I've got a green Eagle, which was the one with the transporter, with the white transporter section in. And then I've got a white Eagle, which is the one with the nuclear, the red winch things with the nuclear waste things on it. Yeah. So I always used to take the white thing off the green Eagle and put it on the white Eagle because it looks better. I don't know why they did it in green, actually.
Child psychology about toy buying behaviours, which when it was Thunderbird 2, the psychologist said, kids don't buy green toys. No, make it blue. And then when they got to UFO in Space 1999, kids don't buy white toys, make it green, was the view at the time.
Inaccurate. So, also, actually, UFO, I had and also I had an Airfix model of the Angel Interceptor, which I had to build, because I don't think you could buy maybe you could, but I don't remember doing it. So I'd built an Angel. So I had all the toys. So my earliest memory is probably that.
But having the toys without having watched the series, or was there an awareness of them?
Probably. I think that they're just the sort of things that you got for Christmas when you were 4 or 5 years old in the early 70s. What about you, Robert? Did you have the toys? You probably still got them.
I'm so envious. No, because I'm from a very traditional middle-class family. That means once you had one Action Man, it was, well, you can pretend it can be anything now. Can I have some other things? No, you can't. That very traditional. So I didn't have None of those. I used to. The envy I had when other kids at school would show Thunderbird 2 or Show an Eagle was enormous. What I did have was.
I just want to just interject again, because the way your brain works is fantastic. So you're trying to say that you were from a middle class family and therefore disadvantaged because, unlike people.
No, it's not a disadvantage. It's that thing which goes. You don't need all those things. You need a book about bird watching, and you need one action man. And then from that, you can create anything else you want. And then I used to save up tokens to get another action man, and then I used to set fire to them because I was interested to know what they looked like if they melted. Anyway, that says a lot about me psychologically. It's probably lucky I didn't have those other things. I'd have smashed up. But my first... I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we are of an age where... it depends on your TV region. Like, you were brought up in the Granada region, so you might not have had Thunderbirds on Saturday morning, because that is definitely my first memory. I would say before... I remember watching Space 1999. I remember the excitement when you were allowed to go and sit and you have a tray with tomato soup on it and you can go inside, you can watch that. But Thunderbirds on a Saturday morning, probably when I was about 5 years old, would definitely be the first one. And then that strange thing where you always presume everything is current. So the idea that it was actually from the mid-60s. And then I think after that, it would probably be Thunderbirds, Joe 90. Captain Scarlet didn't seem to get repeated as much in the Thames/LWT area. And then also on school holidays, they started showing Stingray. So I remember, so I would probably say it was Thunderbirds, Joe 90, Space 1999, and then
yeah, you're right,
Stingray.
Actually, I do remember Stingray vividly as well at that time.
With that great cheesy song.
Marina.
As well. Because that's the thing, is at that point there were the cheesy songs, but then the music, like Space 1999, there is a fantastic version, I'm sure many people listening probably have, Science Fiction Greatest Hits, conducted and arranged by Neil Norman. And it was great. It was only $2.99 in Woolworths, you get it. Other kids used to think I was weird. And the version of Space 1999 is fantastic, because it's even more disco.
Even
so
more?
The way that it has that great... it has a kind of Thus Sprak Zarathustra beginning, doesn't it? It has this... Bah, 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 and then disco time! And so it has... It's ominous, and then we're dancing, and then Brian Blessed's turned into a corpse. There's so much going on in there.
That is Space 1999 beautifully summarised. On the music front, just to cover across all those shows, because you've got clearly exposure to multiple Anderson things. Barry Gray is the man behind the music on all of those, and he had a very particular kind of musical language, which even to his contemporaries, it felt different. It certainly stands out now, and it's almost, to me, although retro, as timeless as the self-contained nature of the shows themselves. So, I mean, things like the music and its effect on the whole show, I mean, is it something that still holds meaning for you? If I play Space 1999, you're going to get goosebumps?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And also that kind of spiralling downwards woodwind sound, which was taking us into a next sequence of drama. That. I mean, that's another thing I would say of that generation of people who were making television, when, of course, so many people considered it to be an artless medium. And, of course, we know the tragedy of the fact that many great TV shows have been lost forever. And, works of people like Nigel Neal, which are just gone and will never... But you see the effort that people were putting in, and you see, I mean, I think there's almost more television music from the 60s that lasts than there is the film soundtracks, and I say that with no idea whether I'm saying anything that's got any sense to it at all or not, but it just came to me.
You also see that it worked because it's imprinted on my mind with the pictures of that intro. Like at the start, when that eagle spirals down and explodes, and then it goes to discover. And there's also the bit when it goes... I can't sing it, but the bit when it says also starring Barry Morse, and he stares out of this window, whimsically out of the window, looking out. And I've actually got that on a T-shirt. So I had it made into a T-shirt and I wore it on some show. I think it was in the States, and nobody knew what is this? You've got like Barry Morse staring out of a window with also starring Barry Morse written on it. So, it was. The thing is, I never forgot that from the age of 7. The pictures in that intro with that music. I must, because the thing is, I probably come the late 70s. I can't remember when we got a VHS. It must have been 1979, 1980, I think. We got and then I
see. Being middle class, it wasn't till the mid-80s, and we got a bloody Betamax. That was a waste of time. Now we're going to create some kind of weird, entirely fictional class division.
No, we
ideas.
rented it. That we used to rent them. We'd rent the telly and rent the VHS, and then I taped them. And once I got them on tape, I watched them over and over again. I've still got them somewhere, I think.
But
is that illegal, by the way?
Well, I was thinking
am I going to get a letter from your lawyers now? Erase those VHS tapes.
The first thing's going to be about the fact that you have been publicly dressed as Martin Landau. That's going to come from the Landau estate, from the Anderson estate. There's going to be so much litigation. I'm afraid that Martin Landau copyrighted both his legs as Bela Lugosi and also as Commander Koenig as well. So... But it is that thinking of Barry Morse, I think there's who, of course, also one of his most brilliant turns is playing the president in Whoops Apocalypse some years later. But there is a difference, I think, in his acting to Martin Landau's, because I always feel that Martin Landau, who went on to be Oscar nominated for Ed Wood, he does have an element of teak about him in the show. It might be unfair, but I get a sense that he was like reduced to this. There's a kind of, here's an actor who worked with Hitchcock and stuff. Whereas Barry Morse, I always felt, it's like something that Peter Cushing has. Peter Cushing, it doesn't matter what he was in, he is always the best thing in it. He is always utterly committed to what he does. And I think Barry Morse, and I really like Martin Landau a lot, but I think Barry Morse, he had something about that where he again has a tremendous, and he had, by that point, had, a good 30-year plus career in all manner of things.
Yeah, and Barry Morse is often an actor that people find stands out, that Victor Bergman, that Doctor Who-esque feeling that he gave off. So obviously, I hope, Brian, that you can credit maybe a tiny bit of your interest in science with maybe some influence from Space 1999, possibly?
I think so. I've always said, actually, I think, because, I always get asked, how did you get into physics? And it was through astronomy. And so I was interested in astronomy and space. And at the time, when you're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, there is no difference. It's just stars, planets, spaceships, the real stuff, Apollo, but also Space 1999, then on to Star Wars. And so, they all fed into this idea, which I spoke about earlier, which I've always had, which is that there's something challenging and exciting and deep about the space beyond Earth. There's something now I would say it's almost a, well, I used that word, didn't I? Spiritual quest, particularly in a qualified way. That's what it feels like, wanting to know what's out there and wanting to challenge ourselves in that way. And that's what physics is, right? It's the intellectual exploration of unknown territory. And so I would say yes, without not even just because I'm speaking to you, but yes, those great pieces of science fiction, books as well. Things like, I remember vividly reading Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke, which was another huge influence that I came back to recently, actually, and didn't disappoint as well. They all merge into a single kind of feeling that is something that I wanted to be involved in.
Also, there was that, when you mention Arthur C. Clarke, he was writing science fiction, but he was also actually actively working within science. And someone like Isaac Asimov, who wrote more non-fiction books about science than he wrote science fiction novels. Yeah. So I think there was this. I mean, I was watching Cosmos again the other day, the original Cosmos, and because we did an event with Andrian, who obviously co-wrote it and was worked with Carl Sagan, was married to Carl Sagan, and that you can see how if it was Space 1999 or Cosmos, you would think this is the best week ever. There wasn't a huge divide in your head because obviously Space 1999 we knew was kind of, there was a greater level of, I suppose, looseness on a grip of possible realities, especially the number of civilizations they came across. But at the same time, when Carl Sagan's, in his spaceship of the imagination, and he's using his hands to open up, he does that, it opens up a screen which allows him to see the space beneath him. And a lot of the effects they're using are the same kind of. So I totally agree with Brian. It's not in any way a leap to say that there's an enormous number of people who are both scientists and who have remained very interested in science and communicating science. These shows were incredibly important. they were the first time of playing with those ideas in your head. There was a thin line between Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World. All of those things were like, for a certain kind of kid, they were all excitement if you circled them in the TV Times.
Yeah. But is science fiction today capable of having that effect on young minds now? And just because you showed your son, Brian, you said that episode of Space 1999, what was his reaction to that?
Absolutely. He's watched them all. Right. And,
wow.
So
great.
He absolutely devoured I must say, I mean, I don't know whether it's heretical or not, but we loved the first season. We in hindsight, we're not so keen on the second season. I don't know whether that's a terrible thing to say.
Most fans share that view.
It's not only me as coming back to it sort of 40 years later or whatever it is, but actually he, as a 10-year-old, found that he loved it. So he watched them all. Now, what's interesting is that the science fiction, the big budget science fiction now is actually perhaps too grown up. So something like Westworld, right? You can't watch as a 10-year-old. Lost in Space we watched recently, which you can, and I thought was good. Looking forward to Foundation a lot. I'll be interested to see what Apple do with it. It looks interesting. It's always one of those things that seems to be unfilmable, I suppose. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of great science fiction. I mean, you might count Man in the High Castle, I suppose, as science fiction, which is I think a great piece of work. Tremendously enjoyed that. So I think we're back in a bit of a golden age again, actually. Although, I mean, as I said, it's kind of more difficult. It's not really aimed at 10-year-olds anymore. I think it's a bit harder.
But that's a problem, I think, with a load of this stuff, and it's something we've talked about before, which makes me very annoyed, which is don't be ashamed of making something that is for kids, because adults will get into it as well. But unfortunately, what I think a lot of people are doing is they're making shows for people of our age who grew up on these things. Let's make these shows again, but they can be more violent and can have more sex in them or whatever. No, make them PG. With some of the Marvel stuff and some of the superhero stuff, when I'm looking for films to watch, I go, we can't watch that because they don't feel that, this is an adult show because it's got swearing and stuff in it. Do you know what? There's a lot of adult shows that can be PG because they did. I mean, I do
Space
think
1999 is a good example, right? Because it's in no way. I mean, I just realised when I said it, it's not written for kids. I don't know if it was conceived as. I don't think it was. It's a grown-up science fiction that you can appreciate, and that's, I think, a problem now. I mean, having said that, Star Trek Discovery I thought was good as well, but violent in places.
Yeah, exactly. But still darker. I mean, one of Dad's things he always wanted to do, even with space, was to make stuff that could be enjoyed by not necessarily a family, but a younger and older audience together. Written in two different ways, and the kind of the action, adventure, and the excitement. Or in Thunderbirds, the slightly risque jokes and sort of double meaning lines that were in there were definitely for Mum and Dad to enjoy.
Confused with Team America now. You see, I can't. There are certain
Brian,
images in Team America. I cannot get out of my head. Anyway.
Yeah, I've seen that image. I know which image you're talking about there, Brian. Yep. You're not going to see puppets like that, are you?
Yeah, no. Dad was not a fan when he saw that. Oh dear, no. He made it past the vomiting scene, but once he got to there, that was it. No more of that. Oh, it was lovely. It's actually quite nice reliving that interview because I don't mind admitting, and you can probably tell actually from my poor questioning, I was quite nervous about that one because Brian is he's well famous, and so is Robin, and they've got this very popular podcast, and so I felt quite a good deal of pressure as to not be a rubbish interviewer. I mean, that didn't stop me being a rubbish interviewer, but
no.
Luckily, they're such pros. They just went off. It's a bit like Samira Ahmed and Kevin Fong, really, isn't it? Where I say
they left you in their wake, didn't they?
Hello. So what do you like? And then they just talk for hours. So yes. Anyway, part 3 will be here next week. And after part 3, I think we've got another special guest, but I'm not going to reveal who it is. You'll have to wait and see.
Oh, really?
Take that.
Okay. Oh,
no,
is that a clue?
No.
You haven't got Gary Barlow, one, have you?
No, that wasn't a clue. There's no.
Is Robbie Williams a big Stingray fan?
There's no.
Oh, okay.
It's not Take That. Sorry.
All right.
Oh dear.
Well, how disappointing. Anyway, I shall save you from my Brian Cox impression this week. If you are listening to us,
What a shame.
which I assume you are if you're hearing my voice in your ears right now, then you can subscribe to us quite easily by hitting subscribe or follow or like on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And that means you'll get notified every time a new episode appears. You can also leave us a lovely rating, and Jamie did put out a plea last week, so we'll be taking a look at some of those, hopefully, over the next coming few weeks. And share us with your friends, of course, so they can get to hear us too. Now, over on our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Podsterons, people have been doing the usual quizzes and sharing their art and their thoughts and ideas and games from the Gerry Anderson universe. Luke Durnell posted, "I've just noticed a possible Thunderbirds reference in Doctor Who episode When a Good Man Goes to War," which I think is a Matt Smith story. Madame Vastra calls the coachman Parker, to which he replies, "Yes, my lady." What do people think? Yeah, well, it's got to be, isn't it?
Of course.
They do pop up occasionally, don't they, in Doctor Who? So there are obviously some fans there.
Well, we know Stephen Moffat. Remember, if you go way back to Pod 2 and 3, Sophia Miles told us that Stephen Moffat's son is a massive Thunderbirds fan, which is why she got involved. And I think part of the reason you get references to various Anderson things throughout Doctor Who.
Lovely. Alex Pass, listening to the brilliant new silver screen Thunderbirds CD on my headphones at work. Yep. Got a bit excited by the music for the Fire Flash landing and nearly fell off my chair. It can have that effect.
Hopefully, the elevator cars were below to catch you.
Should have a disclaimer on the front, shouldn't it? John McDonald posted, "Being a Podsteron of a certain vintage, I was a bit nervous about giving Terrorhawks a watch. Jamie often mentions how much he loves this series, and despite watching Chris Dale's primer and various trailers, I remained unconvinced, and the audio adventures didn't do it for me either. But I dipped my toe with a nicely priced Volume 1 Blu-ray from the Gerry Anderson shop, and guess what? I loved it.
What?
Very quirky and strange in places, but if you have a small glass of something nearby and just go with it, Terrorhawks quickly becomes great fun. Watching the many DVD extras helps appreciate the huge effort put in to create this series, and I would recommend it to any Podsterons who haven't given this a go yet. P.S. I will now give Big Finish Audios another listen," says John McDonald.
Oh, thanks, John. That's good to know.
Job done.
Yeah,
isn't that nice?
There's a lot of that, and I count myself amongst those people who are resistant to certain shows. I don't know if I'd mentioned before, but I'm not the biggest Joe 90 fan in the world.
Yeah, right.
But, do you remember when you came over here for a Fab Live last year and we watched...
Yes, when we could.
Yeah, we watched the one where Joe goes diving. I can't remember what the episode's called. And there was some nice stuff in there, wasn't there? And it was okay.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Even if you think you don't like a Gerry Anderson show, give it a go with some fresh eyes and see if you like it now. And if you don't, then fair enough.
Yeah, or conversely, remember last week I asked you, what's the one series you absolutely hate?
Yes.
What out of everything can you not abide to watch? Do let us know, podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. Be as polite as you can, and perhaps tell us why you're not so keen on this particular one series out of the whole of the Gerry Anderson universe. And finally, Tessa Wyatt posted, the excitement you feel when you hear your tweet read out on the podcast.
Oh.
There.
Well,
it's
that
again,
double
Tessa.
excitement, meta double excitement. How exciting.
Exactly, that's right. So yes, do head on over to our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Podsterons. You'll have 3 questions to answer. We'll let you in and you can join in the fun.
And it is fun.
Isn't it?
Lovely gang there. Speaking of lovely gangs.
Oh, yes.
I mean, 2 people isn't really a gang, is it? But Chris and Marina, the Randomiser gang, they turn up every week and they've got a device called the Randomiser and they hit a button and that picks a random Gerry Anderson episode and then Chris watches it and tells us all about it. Did you know about that, Richard?
All that you have said is true.
Yes. So now that you know about that, obviously you'll be wanting to listen to it. So, should we listen to Chris Dale's amazing and marvellous Randomiser?
I tell you what, let's do it right now.
Okay. Good luck, Chris.
I gotta get these glasses fixed.
You've been saying that for months.
Who's the guy that's been following us ever since we left Walt's place? Chunky and a friendly face. Bonjour.
Oh, hello there. Yes, I'll admit I kind of wanted you to spot me, actually.
You wanted us to?
Well, I don't like approaching people, being a bit of an imposition and all that, but I was hoping I could ask one of you two to press the button on the randomizer for me today.
Sounds as though it might be fun. Yes, but why us?
Because we're detectives, because we find people, because we know what mistakes they make, and because we know what not to do.
Well, actually, it's because I'm pretty sure The Protectors is the only Gerry Anderson show that I haven't actually asked any regulars from to press the button on the randomiser yet. Well, unless I've forgotten already. After 111 weeks, it's getting very difficult to remember. Contessa, would you like to do the honours?
All right, it's all right. I'll handle it.
Oh, come on, Harry. What's wrong? Isn't it professional enough for you?
I don't know. There's something about that guy, something I don't trust, something phony.
Oh, I can promise you, Mr. Rule, I am entirely trustworthy.
Maybe.
Oh, there's the printout. Right, let's see. Well, today it's an episode from Season 2...
What do you mean?
...of Supercar.
Is it?
Yes, the final episode of Supercar, in fact, and it's definitely a weird one for the show to go out on. Here's King Cool.
Oh, I should hate to be responsible for that.
I see a reason.
So after the return of Stingray to the randomiser last week, we're now revisiting Supercar, which also has not been around for quite a while.
Super Soap, King Cool!
With King Cool, the final episode of Supercar to be produced. As you may be able to hear, there is a nice little drum and piano session going on here. What you may not know, if you haven't seen this episode, is that the chap on the drums...
This King Cool, he's the greatest.
Yeah, he's the greatest. He's playing the drums. He's also a gorilla.
I believe you're jealous. You're a real cute monkey, Mitch, but you can't play the drums.
That's it. Their relationship's over. Yeah, a nice touch at the beginning of the episode. The episode title was the words King Cool on King Cool's drum.
You've switched it off. Say, listen, I've got an idea.
Uh-oh.
I'll ask Dr. Beaker to make a drum kit for you. I can play the piano, and I'll teach you to play the drums.
Oh, and here we go. Sudden
what do you say, Mitch?
Musical ability for Jimmy and quite a few other people in this episode that we've never seen previously.
Definitely not.
But Dr. Beaker...
No buts, Jimmy. You can talk me into most things, Jimmy, but this time, no. Definitely and positively, no.
So Beaker has refused to build Mitch a drum kit. Obviously, he is going to stick very strongly to that decision, and is not, even as we speak, working in the laboratory while everyone else is asleep. And this is the final episode, as I said, of Supercar to be produced and most probably aired. I don't have the air dates list right in front of me. Oh, we're seeing everybody's in everybody's bedrooms. Mike's and Pop Kisses and Jimmy's. We've seen in Jimmy's quite a bit already.
Mitch. Mitch.
Oh, I know I said Jimmy. I've said before that Jimmy is an ugly puppet, but when he's lying down, the nose, that big nose of his, actually looks broken.
Do you reckon he's making that drum kit after all?
Oh, poor little Mitch gets a little pet bed on the floor. Uh-oh.
What on earth is happening?
Oh, Mike's tapping his feet while he's sleeping. That's quite nice.
Dr. Beaker's done it. He's made you a drum kit.
No, I didn't make him a drum kit, Jimmy. I made it for myself. I figure if you want something, I shall not only not let you have it, but make one for myself. Oh.
Most satisfactory, man.
Oh, good old Beaker. He's come through for Jimmy and Mitch, and now he and Mike and Popkiss are out in Supercar.
Your overhaul that you've carried out on Supercar's engines is just great. She's flying like a bird, or as Jimmy would say, real cool, Dad, real cool.
We're getting into the period of trying to sound cool and hip for the youngsters.
Very kind of you to find time to make Mitch's drum kit. It certainly keeps Mitch out of mischief, and Jimmy does nothing else but teach him how to play.
I suppose so long as it brings him happiness, it's all worthwhile. But I really do think he's wasting his time with Mitch. Monkeys have a limited intelligence, you know.
Now come on.
Regardless, I do hope he enjoys the 500 pounds of gelignite I hid in the big drum. Kill two birds with one stone, Mike.
That's fine, Mitch.
So now Jimmy and Mitch have been left alone in the Supercar lab, which never seems like a good idea.
Symbol, Mitch. Now hit it.
Oh, but Mitch is a bit scared. Mitch is a bit scared of the drum kit.
Mitch, hit it.
Oh, that's it. Up to the rafters with him. Poor old Mitch. And meanwhile, over at this is the guy who owns King Cool is named Bud Hamburger, and he's just got King Cool in his living room.
Okay, King. That's it for tonight. Guess you'd better get back to your cage.
Oh, he's chained to the floor. That's quite sad. Yeah, so this is this Bud Hamburger chap
This is your
just lets King Cool into his house to play the drums and then sends him back out to a cage.
Only the supercar team.
Well, folks, I guess today is the great day.
What, is Jimmy leaving, Michael? Oh, joy! I've been waiting for this day. Well, since we picked up the little sprog, really.
Intelligence? Yes, Beaker, we've heard all that many times before. But Jimmy wants to give us a demonstration. And
Jimmy this and Jimmy that. I won't. Very well.
Results might be quite surprising. After all, he has been training Mitch now for 3 weeks.
Right, so this is 3 weeks later. 3 weeks Jimmy and Mitch have been practicing.
Here we go.
Let's see how they go.
You're ready, folks?
All ready, Jimmy, and looking forward to enjoying the show.
I wouldn't go that far, Professor.
But of course, we all realize that
monkeys have a limited intelligence. And now let's get on.
It's quite strange that Beaker is pushing that line, considering that throughout the series he seems to have made it his
supercar
sort of a personal mission of his to sort of encourage Mitch and respond to the animal intelligence that he clearly has. But maybe that was more of a first season thing, and of course the second season the Andersons were writing all of these scripts. The series took a more juvenile tone. I don't. Maybe they just didn't realise that that had been a running thread through the first season. I also like this piece of incidental music, which I don't think has ever appeared on any of the Supercar soundtrack releases over the years. I've just recently picked up the new silver screen one. I got the vinyl and the CD, and I've got the previous Fanderson ones as well, but this piece has never appeared on there, I don't think. Unless I'm talking absolute nonsense, and it appeared on the very latest one, and I just forgot. So did they already have a piano at Black Rock? We've never seen Jimmy demonstrate any musical ability up to this point. We've never seen Jimmy demonstrate any ability at all up to this point. But it does seem strange that either they already had a piano there or they got one for Jimmy.
Oh, God! Wonderful!
Like cool, man, like cool!
Oh, dear. The most easily impressed audience in Nevada. Anyway.
Say, Mitch, there's a write-up here about King Cool. He lives right close in Batesville.
Oh, yeah, Batesville. This was a city that was established as being quite near to the Supercar Lab in the second series.
Gee, I guess the excitement of the day's been too much for you, Mitch. Come to think of it, I'm pretty tired myself. Good night, Mitch.
Oh, Jimmy picked up on the hint that Mitch was... Oh, Mitch was leading him on as well. Oh, as soon as the light was out, he opened one eye.
Very good meal.
Thank you, Beaker.
Now, if you and Mike are staying in tonight, I think I'll go into Batesville to see my old friend, Professor Harlow.
Say, doesn't he have some sort of observatory set up and studies the stars and all that jazz?
He does indeed, but I do...
It seems like the sort of interesting thing we probably should have covered at some point in the series before the final episode, Mike, but, well, there we go.
Sleep for once.
I am always most considerate when other people are sleeping. Good night.
There's that bit where the painting falls off the wall. So, yes, it's night in the Supercar Lab. And as Beaker leaves in his very noisy truck, we can... Oh, did he crash? We can see that Mitch, too, has also left. He's not in his basket by Jimmy's bed anymore, but... I mean, do you blame him? Anywhere in the Black Rock Lab would be a better place to sleep than right next to Jimmy.
There's nothing like driving through the desert, knowing there's not another living soul for miles around.
Also irony. I love irony. Yep, there's Mitch in the back. Batesville. Ah, here we are. So Beaker is parked outside the home of his friend Professor Harlow, did he say?
Shall we make our way over to the observatory?
Huh. And Mitch is going to sneak out the truck, see if he can... Oh, okay. Whoa. Sudden onset jazz riffs for... Yeah, this is the point where the episode starts to go a little bit off the rails. I've been on board with it so far, but Mitch works well in small doses, and now we're getting a huge... well, we're getting basically an entire plot dedicated to him this week, which... this music he is just dancing up and down on the spot. He's made his way to Bug Hamburger's house, and of course the mailbox has Bud Hamburger and King Cool on the outside, but Mitch has now found King Cool in the garden, in a cage, and they're having a little chat. And if you're worried that this scene might be a bit difficult to follow, if you don't speak Super Mario Nation ape, primate, monkey talk, then don't worry. It has subtitles. And not only does it have subtitles, they are chatting to each other in beatnik-style slang. Which, I suppose it's nice that it fits with Mitch's previously established human speech pattern in Flight of Fancy.
Not at all. As a matter of interest, Doctor, according to my consultation with the stars, the supercar laboratory will be visited by a tall, dark stranger.
Oh, it's not death again, is it? He comes round regularly. We don't have anything for him. I keep trying to give him Jimmy, but he won't take him.
Most interesting. Oh, fascinating. Watching the stars in the heavens. Of course, I don't really believe in this astrology stuff. A tall, dark stranger indeed. What utter nonsense.
So Beaker is heading home. Oh, that's a rather unsettling shot. Just straight onto Beaker's face. Ooh, that was quite sinister. The eyes weren't moving. But we can see now that King Cool has played a swap. He didn't put Jimmy in the cage. That's what Beaker wants. He put Mitch in the cage, and King Cool went back to the Black Rock lab on Beaker's truck. Now there's a shadowy figure sneaking up on Jimmy. Oh, that is quite well directed. That is almost frightening, at least for this show, because
ham and eggs for you.
I think shadows...
2 eggs, please.
Nighttime scenes and shadows look better in black and white. They look a bit more effective. And the King Cool puppet is rather disturbing anyway. He's got these sort of...
I got in so late last night.
Sort of rather sinister eyes.
Professor Popkiss, something terrible has happened.
Oh dear. So King Cool found his way to Mitch's bed in Jimmy's room. I don't know, maybe he recognised the monkey smell.
I would never have believed it possible.
What is it, Doc?
It's Mitch. He's grown to at least twice his size. Into the control room, quickly. Who knows, he might be violent.
And meanwhile...
Oh, you've shrunk. Say, what goes on?
Mitch, we must help him in some way.
I don't know how realistic this is, that people would just automatically assume that their primate ape things have either grown or shrunk, but
as I feared.
I suppose there's not many other immediate explanations for what's happened.
This has got to stop.
Dr. Beaker, I've got an idea.
Oh, shut up. It'll fail and it's useless. Go away.
2 minutes.
That's Beaker's lab being smashed up.
Okay, Mike.
Oh, so Jimmy's plan is...
Unless you have to, will you?
Don't worry, Jim. We're as fond of Mitch as you are, you know.
Play the piano to him, and... Oh, that's calmed him down a little. Luring him out of the lab, which he was smashing to pieces. Again, this is one of those things in final episodes you see a lot of props and things being smashed up. I wonder if
It's dangerous.
that was Beaker's lab being destroyed for real, or if it was just more stuff they had lying around.
Get ready, Mike. He's going to pounce at any moment.
Oh, wait. He's quite near Jimmy. I wouldn't want you to hit Jimmy, Michael. Let us see how events play out. No, King Cool is, seems to be settling down at the drums. Yep. Those tiny little drumsticks in his massive long arms. This would also probably have to be one of the largest puppets ever produced in the Super Marionation era, I would have thought, because he's basically at least twice the height of the regular human characters. He's towering over Jimmy there. Still, it's working. King Cool is getting his he's well into the groove here. Mike, Beaker, and Popkiss are just stunned into silence while this is playing out. Oh, King Cool was even tapping his foot in time to the music. Now we're back at Bud Hamburger's place, and Mitch is filling in on the same track with Bud Hamburger.
You know, I just don't get it, King Cool. You're better than ever. Man, you're the ultimate. But we've got a real problem, King. What am I going to say to the sponsors? And what about the TV audience? Boy, are we in trouble. I guess it's goodbye to our contract, King. And just as we were hitting the big time.
Oh, poor Mitch. I also like I don't like, but I'm impressed by the way that the animal cruelty side of this, with King Cool having his foot manacled to the floor while he's playing at Bud Hamburger's place. It doesn't get mentioned at all. It's like...
The problem is going to be feeding.
It's just, that's the way it is, and we don't question it.
Now you can have your special treat. Nuts.
Professor, did you see that? I've never known Mitch to refuse nuts, no matter how much he's eaten.
Say, listen. Do you think it's possible that maybe he...
Isn't Mitch?
Oh, that was the giveaway, was it? Nuts.
You're right.
Aside from the fact that he's clearly a different animal entirely.
There's only one other monkey or gorilla that can play the drums. And that's King Cool.
You mean the monkey that you and Mitch were watching on television over and over again, Jimmy, and you should have instantly recognized him as being King Cool, and you didn't think to tell us?
I don't know how they switched around.
That one, Jimmy?
Yes, we'll fly King Cool back to you right away in supercar.
After all, that's what we invented it for, you know? We started the series with the idea of rescuing people, and now it's just, we have a big monkey. Take big monkey from A to B. And I think this is probably as good a not finale, but a final episode as you were likely to get for Supercars Series 2. It is quite a way removed from the beginnings of the series, but it's certainly a better note to go out on than something like Transatlantic Cable.
Here's himself, Dr. Beaker.
Well, Jimmy,
It's enjoyably and rather endearingly loopy.
Here's to be quite safe.
Supercar to base. Supercar to base. Setting course for Batesville. Bud Hamburger, here...
Oh, and when you've got a puppet the size of King Cool in the back of Supercar, it brings the leg room issue even more into question, because...
We're going out of control!
There's just no room. There's barely any room for Mike.
Let go of me, you brute!
Oh, who is now being strangled by King Cool because I guess he's registering his thoughts on the legroom issue as well.
Professor, I can't reach the remote control switch.
I've got an idea, Dr. Beaker.
Oh, shut up! Something else I do admire with this episode, and certain later episodes they always seem to fall later in the show's run, of episodes revolving around music or a piece of music or a performance, like with Space City Special in Fireball XL5, which I think was the final episode made, and they end with a big musical number.
Why not give it a whirl?
Oh, so now they've brought King Cool home and everything's been sorted out. King Cool and Mitch are sat on the sofa. King Cool's got his arm around Mitch, and now they look like good friends.
Say, if there's anything I can do in return, you just say the word. Well, there is one thing.
We've got Peter coming round to see you about this whole chaining animals to the floor thing.
Boy, we'll really have a ball.
My goodness, I'm so excited, I can't wait.
Yep, just as Fireball XL5 went out with a big musical performance, we are now ending Supercar with...
Station.
And now we present to you the show you've all been waiting for, folks, the Bud Hamburger.
Fireball XL5.
Bravo! Bravo!
And this week, we have a very special surprise for you all. King Cool with Musical Mitch.
So yeah, obviously Mitch was trained
Finally,
through this episode on the drums.
world famous supercar team.
But now with this episode, we not only discover that Jimmy can play the piano, here's Beaker on the trumpet, and Mike is I think he's on the double bass. And none of this has been established previously. And I it didn't need to be established previously. I kind of love that characters just suddenly demonstrate musical ability in this and Space City special. And if we can't really have a definite final episode for Supercar, I don't think, or indeed most of the Gerry Anderson shows, so why not go out with a nice big musical number? You know, there's really not much else. How else would you end a show like this? You can't. There's not really any long-running story that you can wrap up. And I do love this this performance as well. This is Swanee, isn't it? I think, but a Barry Gray reinterpretation of it. Oh, Beaker's playing the trumpet, and it's clear these puppets are not. Well, Mike looks quite real and naturalistic on the drum. No, he's not on the drum, he's on the double bass. Mitch is on the drums, he looks quite good. Jimmy looks quite good on the piano too, but Beaker with the trumpet, just with his lip locked open constantly and bouncing up and down on the spot, is perhaps letting the side down a bit. And that was it. That was Supercar, King Cool. What a strange note to go out on. As I said, I think this final episode is a long way from where the show began. If you do have to end the show, I suppose it's nice to end it on a sort of rousing musical number. A story by Gerry and Sylvia Anderson from an idea by Gerry Anderson and Reg Hill. Presumably that they had in the pub. What if we have monkeys on drums? But it's pleasant enough. I rather enjoyed coming back to that one, actually. I remember the last time I saw this one, I had a raging cold. I felt like absolute death, so it's been a much better viewing experience this time, and yeah, nice little bit of King Cool. Nice way to end Supercar, really.
Isn't that nice that we get
Supercar?
Yes.
Yes.
Piloted by Mike Mercury, also known as the puppet version of Richard James.
It has been said, yes, several times. And I don't mind that.
Dead ringer. Well, I mean, he's a hero, isn't he? He's a handsome hero, Richard, which is, exactly what people say about you.
It's one of the things they say about me, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, if you pay them.
Yeah.
Yes, the end of Supercar. Well, not the end for the randomiser, but the last episode of Supercar.
Yeah.
Bit of musical fun, but
a
bit naff.
Well, yeah, but was that a sign of the times, or...?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, that's probably partly baked into Supercar because of the era.
Yes,
so
that's right. Supercar's not a series, I know that well, I have to say. So I should rectify that, shouldn't I?
Yeah, well, obviously inspired by the randomiser.
Indeed. Yeah, now that's got me thinking, which of the Gerry Anderson series that ran for more than one series, which of those knew that they had been recommissioned for a second series when they finished the first? Do you follow? For example, at the end of Space 1999 Series 1, did they know that they were going to have Series 2? And was that reflected in the end of Series 1? Likewise, the various Thunderbirds. So did they know that they were going to have more to do and that was reflected in the end of... Or did they not think like that in those days?
I suspect that Supercar and Fireball, they probably got a sense that they were going for a fairly long run.
Yeah.
Thunderbirds, they probably thought, well, we're definitely going to get, commissioned for more.
Yes.
And then they only got the 6.
Yes.
Space 1999, I guess it was troubled, and so there was a bit of, we can only renew it if you get an American producer on board and Fred Freiberger and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, pretty variable, but there wasn't shows of the 60s and 70s, generally speaking, there was no kind of connecting, let's leave the series on a big cliffhanger so we can come back for the second one.
Yeah,
it was
true.
all a bit more kind of individual episode based, wasn't it? It wasn't until... Well, really, New Captain Scarlet, I think, that there was a real sense of we might go somewhere interesting next.
Yeah, certainly. Or in the wider world, of course, I suppose it's Star Trek Next Generation that did it with that two-parter Best of Both Worlds, the Borg story that was split over the end of Series 3 and the beginning of Series 4 that really left you wanting more.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was the beginning of the whole cliffhanger end of series thing, wasn't it?
If you know more, Podsterons, do let us know.
Yeah, do. Please do. Yes, email us in podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk and let us know.
Richard James.
Oh, yes, Jamie Anderson.
I mean, the randomiser and us gabbling on at the end generally means that we're rapidly heading towards the end of the runway.
Yeah, I think you're right. I can see it now.
Yeah, so...
I think you should pull up, Jamie, quick.
Well...
Pull up. Quick.
I was actually going for an elevator car landing again.
I see.
Just waiting for the front one to slip out and the friction to stop us.
Yeah, okay. We could do that.
I don't know what the audio metaphor for that is, but that's what's happening. We are at the end of Pod 112. Thank you for listening. Do email us your questions and thoughts and stuff to podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. And as I slightly desperately asked last week, please leave us a review and a rating, or a rating, as Richard has said, because it means a great deal to us. Now, Richard, can I read out a couple of recent reviews for you?
Oh, please do. Yes, I'd love to hear them as long as they're nice.
JM Todd says, too fab. This podcast is too hard not to listen to.
Oh, well, there's too many double negatives in there. What does that mean?
That is tough, isn't it? Yeah.
That's good. I like it, though. I like it.
And Tigger's Tale says, podcast is fab. Jamie, Richard, Chris, and guest interviews, all Gerry Anderson related, always entertaining and informative.
Lovely.
Isn't
That's all
that
it takes.
Nice?
Yeah, we like that.
Bless
cheer
you.
us up no end.
Yeah, and there's a few more of those, but I shall save those for next week. If you want your chance of being read out as a reviewer, well, then you better well bloom and leave us a review, please.
Yeah, it's that simple. Yeah, true.
Easy. Right, let's not give them anything else to do. We'll just say goodbye, and we'll see you in Pod 1111113.
Look forward to it.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
So, Richard James, if 13 is unlucky for some, and I think we had quite a good Pod 13, is 113 100 times more unlucky? Or
I was thinking exactly the same thing. That's a bit of a worry, isn't it? Who was our interviewee? Do you remember in Pod 13?
I'm going to look it up now. Hang on.
Did you say it was quite a good one? Let's... Because if we got away with it then, we might get away with it for 113, mightn't we?
Yeah, possibly. Oh, it was McKinnon and Saunders.
Oh, well, we're sorted there. We'll be all right.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It really was, yeah. So obviously it means nothing. Superstitious nonsense. Pod 113 will be fine.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, I look forward to it. Oh, what? Are you all right?
Oh, God, I just stubbed my toe.
Oh, no, don't break any mirrors. Don't walk under any ladders. It will get worse.
There's a black cat. Oh, no. Oh, it started. Oh, dear.
The curse of 113. See you next week.
Wish us luck. Bye.
You have been listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Wasn't it fun?
You have been listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.